Everybody have a good dinner? Ready to go? Awesome. So I'm just take 1 second, have everybody just kind of close their eyes and let's kind of gather ourselves back in, kind of get back in that moment that we had earlier today. All right. So before I start, I'd like to say just one thing that I heard from a very great presenter by the name of Roberto Monaco. He likes to state before his presentations that he doesn't speak to inform, but he speaks to transform. So my hopes tonight is that I can give you something to transform your life or yourself in some small way, and that would be a huge win for me. Well, maybe. There we go. And we're working, sort of. There it is. All right, so purpose. This is the definition of purpose from the dictionary, the reason for which something exists or is done, made, used, etc. Now, purpose for me is somewhat of a new concept. Before I came to life and before I came to Life Vision, I'd never really thought of purpose or what purpose really was for me. You see, I was a personal trainer before I was chosen to be a chiropractor for about 4 years. I did it full-time for the last 3 years of my undergraduate degree at The Ohio State University. And then after I finished that degree, I did it for another year before coming to Life University. And I really thought that that was the path that I was going down. You know, I really thought that that was what I was going to do with my life. Until about 8 to 9 months before I decided to apply for Life University. And at that time, I was really beginning to notice that there was just something missing. I was feeling kind of empty. And it was becoming more aware to me because I was becoming more conscious of the fact that there was a void in here. There was a void in my soul, in my heart, that I wasn't doing everything that I was capable of doing. There was what most of us know is that something. That something inside of me telling me that there was more of myself that I could give to others. That there was this level of me that I hadn't quite tapped into yet. So, long story short, I made it to Life University, and the universe led me to Life Vision. And as I mentioned just a second ago, Life Vision was kind of where it all began for me, really, when it comes to purpose. Life Vision was my launching pad for me to really start to dig in and realize what purpose really was, because I had no concept that I should actually have a life purpose before coming here. And in doing so, lost my slide already. This thing's trickier to use than it looks. And in doing that and digging in and trying to find my purpose, I really started to dig into a lot of these gentlemen over here. And for most of you in the room, I would assume probably all of you, that truth is chiropractic. And it's more than just chiropractic itself. It's the philosophy, the science, and the art behind chiropractic that just resonates somewhere deep inside you, hits you to your core and is really that driving force behind your purpose, which brings me to a quote. If it doesn't come up, here we go, by Fred D. Domenico. When your soul hears a truth, it is automatically attracted to it. And for me, coming to Life Vision and really hearing what chiropractic was for the first time last January of 2014 was the first time that I had an experience like that. There was no thought that I needed to have to keep going, to keep pushing me. Because chiropractic is just becoming who I am. It's the life I want to lead. It's the life I want to live. and the life that I want to give my future children and the community that I'm going to go back and serve. Well, here we go. So it's the philosophy and the science for me that I see is how we are able to explain and tell people what chiropractic is. But it's the art. See, that's the good stuff right there. It's the art is where we're able to physically show people what chiropractic can actually do. And just thinking about it just kind of gives me chills with the art and just like what we're able to do with chiropractic. It made me think of this thought here. You know, with an adjustment, we become a conduit of life, a vessel for universal intelligence to flow above down so innate can heal inside out. And that to me is probably the coolest thing in the world that you can do for another human being. But the even better or even cooler part than that is that we get to do it with these right here. You know, which brings me to another thought. From Last Life Vision, if you guys were there, you saw Tim Young deliver a very, very powerful presentation. You see some nods, you know what I'm talking about. But the one little sentence from his presentation that stuck with me, and to this day now, it just gives me chills every time I think about it, was when he was in his technique classes with Dr. Hugo Gibson, that every time that they would set up on somebody, and after he critiqued their setup and everything was perfect, he would walk up to them and say, "Feel it in your soul." I say right now, just chills, just thinking about it again. But think about that, feel it in your soul. The last thought in your head before you give that. Can you imagine the impact on humanity of that right there was the last thought in the 60,000 plus chiropractors that we have in the United States? Can you imagine what that would be like, the impact that we would have on humanity, the things that we would change? It's what gets me out of bed in the morning and keeps me going to class when I really don't want to go sit through another Bordini lecture. And in realizing that that is what drives me and that chiropractic is what is pushing me towards my purpose, I've landed on my purpose. My purpose to be in service in all I do, facilitating life by elevating the consciousness of every man, woman, and child. That is my purpose that I have vowed myself to hold on to the rest of my life and do everything in life revolves around that. And the cool thing is it's starting to happen without me even thinking about it, which is amazing to me. So my hopes for you guys this weekend is that you can find something for your purpose to keep you driving. I'm almost down out of time. So in closing, I'm just going to share a little video with you guys. It's 12 seconds, just a little clip. One of my favorite speakers, Eric Thomas. If you guys don't know who he is, go to YouTube, type in Eric Thomas, Secrets to Success. Changed my life. He's a very powerful speaker. I just want you guys to really hear how he's saying it and how he's presenting it, not what he's actually saying. So if we could go ahead and play that really quick.
When I speak, this is about changing your life. Somebody's going to go make it right with their father. Somebody's going to get off alcohol. Somebody's going to leave substance alone. Somebody's family's about to go to the next level. Somebody's going to dream again. Somebody's going to do what they've never done before. I'm not an entertainer. I change lives.
Enjoyed you. The conference is great. You always great and powerful. Appreciate you motivating us. What up? What up? What up? It's your boy, E.T.
Cool. So as you can see, he has a lot of energy. So I'm going to ask you guys to stand up for me and finish this last 20 seconds with me. So in seeing that clip, I saw it through my chiropractic filter for one of the very first times. If I can get over to that last slide so you guys can see it. I want you to repeat after me. I'm going to go over time. Sorry about a couple seconds, Dr. LaMarche. I apologize. All right, so here we go. I want you to repeat after me. I do not just move bone.
I do not just move bone.
I do not chase symptoms.
I do not chase symptoms.
I am not another therapy.
I am not another therapy.
Through chiropractic, I facilitate the elevation of the expression within that animates all living things. Life. Thank you.
The Bible says that perfect love casts out all fear. So I want to share with you something I went through about a year ago that did not provide me the opportunity or the privilege of having fear because it forced me to operate in perfect love. I have a midwife. I treat my thing in practice, if you will. My thing is my favorite patient, my ideal patient, if you will, is pregnant mothers. I love working with pregnant mothers because there's a grading sheet at the end for me. It's how quick did she go into labor and did she have to have any assistance or intervention. So it's fun for me because I get to grade myself at the end. So I treat a lot of pregnant moms, and I've got a couple of midwives in town, especially the home birth midwives, that refer exclusively to me because we get really, really impressive labor times. So it's a lot of fun for me. I have a midwife that refers exclusive to me, and she keeps me busy. I keep joking about she needs to buy a church van so she can get all these patients to me because she's constantly sending them over. And she delivered two of my three children, my last two, as beautiful home births. And she called me one evening, and it was odd because she called me on a Sunday night, and she called me about 9:30 at night or so rather late. I thought maybe a mother was stuck in transition or something like that, and she wanted me to come, see if I could be of some assistance or something. But she called me, and her name's Michelle, and Michelle called me, and I said, hello, and I hear her sobbing on the other end of the phone line, which is odd because Michelle, if you knew Michelle is a home birth midwife who's done a lot of crazy stuff, and she's delivered a lot of still babies and et cetera, and like this chick does not get bent out of shape. You with me? She is chill, right? She's one of those steady Betty people. And she called me, and she's sobbing on the other end of the phone, which is a big concern for me because I'm freaked out now, right? And I said, Michelle? And she said, Josh, it's Addie. And my only frame of reference for that was I knew she had a daughter named Addie. She's got 3 daughters, and I knew she had a daughter with special needs, and I knew their names, but I didn't know which one was the one with special needs. So Addie's the one with special needs. Addie has Angelman syndrome. Has anybody ever heard of Angelman syndrome? Right, we got 1. Yeah, that's about right. 2, of course, Dr. Rubin, of course, right? All right, no shock there. So Angelman syndrome, it's kind of like Down syndrome, but really super severe. So give you a frame of reference. It's a chromosomal disorder, and that's all I'm going to say because Dr. Rubin will interrupt and correct me if I say any more than that. But to give you an idea, Addie's 6. She's about yay tall. She sucks a passy, drinks milk from a bottle, has never spoken, barely walks. So a pretty severe developmental delay, if you will. So on the phone, Michelle says to me, Dr. Paxton, you know what Angelman syndrome is, right? And I said, well, of course I do. What's up? Right? And I've never heard of it a day in my life, right? But you fake it till you make it. So she says, well, she's crying, right? I'm not going to do the voice-breaking crying thing, but she's crying, and she says, Addie has been in a seizure. This is on Sunday. She says, we got here on Wednesday, and Addie's been in a status, or some people say status seizure, since Wednesday. And I'd never heard of a seizure that would last 4 or 5 days. So they've got her in diapers because she's messing on herself, and they're having to give her, feeding tubes, IV, all this kind of stuff, right, to keep her alive, because she's been in a seizure for 5 days now. And she calls me, and she's obviously panicked, which is making me panic because she never panics because she's chill. And she says to me, do you know anybody or anything that can help me? Because in the morning, they're going to come, and they're going to put Addie in a medically induced coma. And I went, and Dr. Rubin's nodding his head. This is how they treat this, right? They can't shut it off, so they just shut their brain down. She says, but the problem, I did my research. She says, I Googled it. These kids have weak neurology to begin with, right? Because it's inborn error. And so she says, typically they don't wake up. So there's a great chance that if they do this, that she'll die. And she again sobbing, and she says, this is my baby. And I said, I'm on my way. I guess innate intelligence came forth because I know I would have never said that, right? So I said, I'm on my way, right? So I get in the car. I tell my wife, sweetheart, I got to go. I'll explain it later. So I get in the car, and I'm headed up there, obviously Googling Angelman syndrome on my phone, right? So I'm driving, right, Googling Angelman syndrome. And I get there, right, and I'm an expert on Angelman syndrome, right? So I walk in, I'm ready, know what to do here. But here's my thought, though. I had this knee-jerk reaction. I don't know the first thing about Angelman syndrome, but I'm a nerve doctor. And this is a nerve disorder because she's having a seizure, right? So I'm thinking, chiropractic knows more than I do, innate intelligence knows more than I do, so I'll just move the bone, get out of the way, and see what happens. Maybe, if she'll let me, if the mother will let me. And I get into the room quickly, and Michelle is in this cage bed. Right, you know the ones we're talking about, right? The bed, it has the big cage on it that goes up to the ceiling so they don't fall out and hurt themselves, right, which is devastating to see. I get in the room, there's a cage bed, and Addie's in there, and Michelle's rocking Addie, and she's crying. And I look over at Addie, and Addie's just kind of doing her seizure thing, right? She says, what do you want me to do? I said, let me in, I guess. And so I walked in, or I stepped up into this bed, and she got out, I got in, and I reached up, and I grabbed Addie's neck. It's the only thing I knew to do. I grabbed Addie's neck, and she was in a full-blown seizure, and I checked her atlas, and her atlas was all stuffy on the left. I took an infrared thermometer, measured her fossa temp. It was 4 degrees Fahrenheit, different, cold on the left. I've never seen that before, so I was so shocked by this. Only thing I knew how to do, the only thing that came to mind was, why don't you adjust her? Brilliant, right? So I grab a hold of the left side of her atlas, and I slam into the left side of her atlas, and God is my witness, you can call Michelle, she'd love to tell you the story. Addie snaps out of the seizure. And her mother looks at me, and so I'm holding her like this, and her mother looks at me, and she goes, holy shit, it worked! So I looked at her, and I said, holy shit, it worked! Right? So I said, of course it worked. Why did you think I came? Right? So I leave the room, and I walk out of the room, and I kind of snuck in the room because it's actually in Tennessee. I don't have a license there. It's in a hospital I have privileges in, so I'm kind of, being Uncle Josh, tiptoeing in the room, right? Right? You know what I'm talking about, right? So I leave the room, though, and I'm a little different. I leave the room, and I decide I'm going to the nurse's station, and I'm going to let them know that I'm here. Is there any sick among you? Right? But this wasn't me, though. This was chiropractic, because anybody in here who knows how to adjust the left side of an atlas could have done it. But I'll tell you this, in this moment, my heart broke so terribly for this mother, because I have kids of my own, that some innate reflex inside of me didn't give itself the privilege of fear, and an immediately knee-jerk reaction was, I'm on my way. And I began to understand through that experience that the power of that experience for me rests within the fact that, because I empathized with her as a parent, that in that moment, I operated out of perfect love. And that was able to cast out all my fear. So it began to really do a work in me, and I really began to wonder the power and the magnitude of what happened in that moment with Addie. What if I could get to a place within myself that I could operate constantly when I'm in the practice in perfect love with no fear? What do you think would happen? I think miracles like that would become the norm. Don't you think? So the reason I'm here, the reason I'm standing here, is that I want to encourage you, I want to beg you, I want to plead with you to search within yourself, to find a place where you can get in the flow and you can operate out of perfect love and allow it to cast out all fear. Thank you very much.